And with that in mind, joining us now from Capitol Hill, newly announced co-chairs of the bipartisan group No Labels, Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine and Democratic Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia. Let's start right there. No Labels. I know the organization. Why did you two decide to take over? I like it.
Well, first of all, we're the most centrist, and we work together the most. And when I have a go-to person to go to, it's right here, Susan Collins. And you know, we've got to get along, show civility, and show that we can work together and function together. There's those of us who still desire to find the moderate middle, that we can make things happen. That's where it happens, and that's where it always has happened. And if we're going to fix things, that's where we got to be.
There's so much hyper-partisanship in Washington right now, which reflects all the deep divides in our country. Too often the debate in Washington has been controlled by ideologically driven groups on the far left and the far right. What No Labels is trying to do, and we're happy to join as honorary co-chairs, is to bring people together and energize the middle. What I've said that we need are fanatical moderates to start speaking out and being as energetic and involved as those on the far left and the far right.
So, Senator Manchin, it's Willie Geist. Good to see you, and you too,
Hey, Willie, how you doing?
Senator Collins. I'm well, thank you. So that you know, there are people who look at No Labels and have looked at it in the past, and will look at this as kind of the squishy middle of American politics. You know, trying to have kumbaya moments on Capitol Hill, and there are people who proudly wear their labels as conservative or as progressive, Democrat, sure, Republican. How do you bring those groups together in a practical way? What's the first thing you believe you actually can accomplish together?
Well, let me just say this about No Labels. Since I arrived in November 2010, it was the only organization I saw trying to find the middle, trying to bring people from both sides together. And I've been a fan, I've been involved for all these many years. And for me to be able to step up with Susan now and show that we're bringing people in from the high echelon of corporations, corporate leaders, to the rank and file on the streets, and listen, can't you just get along? We like to see you work together. We're in trouble out here. We like to do a little bit better for ourselves and our family. So I think what they're saying is they're not getting anything accomplished from the far right and far left. It just doesn't happen. These are, respectfully, I respect their positions. I like to listen to them, and then basically find how do you move forward. Right. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we've always done. If you look at the 2013 shutdown, it was Susan and I working together to find out how we open government. If you look just recently at the Affordable Care Act, it was Susan and I now signed up with Patty Murray and Lamar Alexander, and now we're going to have the same situation, I believe, with tax reform.
So let's get practical, Senator Collins. And Senator Manchin mentioned tax reform, which we're going to hear about today. What's the No Labels solution there? What can change in our tax system?
Well, first of all, there's a matter of process, and we need to have ample opportunity for Democrats as well as Republicans to offer amendments. And that is going to happen in this case, unlike the way the health care bills were brought to the floor. So that's an improvement to start with. It's going through the Finance Committee. There will be a real markup on the bill and an opportunity to change it. I think all of us have our views on what should be in it. The Republican chairman's mark is going to be released today. That's what he thinks should be in the bill. And then next week, you'll see the committee deliberating on the bill and ample opportunity for both sides to offer amendments. And then we'll take a look at what the committee comes out with today and after the markup. And maybe there'll be a bipartisan amendment that we'll want to offer on the Senate floor. It's too early to tell. One thing I will say is I do think we need an overhaul of the tax code. That hasn't been done since 1986.
Willie, the thing that I think that Susan and I are both saying very loudly and very clearly is that you can't do it from one side. The Democrats can't fix it without the Republicans helping them. And I would like to think the Republicans think that they can't fix it without the Democrats helping them. When they don't want to do that from the leadership and they want to hunker down and just stay the party lines, Susan and I are going to find enough that want to sit down and say, wait a minute, that's not right, it's not fair, and it won't be balanced or bipartisan. So we're looking at how do you help the working person? How do you help the small business person? Right. If you're going to assume that we're going to take on $1.5 trillion of debt, if you want us to take that risk, who gets helped the most from this risk that we're taking? That's what we're trying to look for.
Heidi.
Senators, we have had, as you know, as we call them in Congress, gangs. We've had a bazillion bipartisan gangs on everything from immigration to the budget. And I'm wondering, what do you think is materially different about this in terms of attaching yourselves to No Labels, which is a group that actually, in the end, could see itself kind of splintering off into a third party? Do you feel comfortable attaching yourselves to that idea?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, the purpose is not to use No Labels to form a third party, but rather to bring together Democrats, Republicans, independents, people who believe in good government, who want to see compromise, who understand that we need to have a more respectful debate in this country. And about those gangs, and I think I've been involved in every single one of them, as has Joe since we've been in the Senate, those gangs have produced results. A lot of times they brought us back from the brink, including ending the shutdown in 2013. So I don't diminish the power of people in the Senate coming together, listening respectfully, and trying to find common ground. And what we're hoping to do with No Labels help is to institutionalize that. Now, the members may change from issue to issue, but right now, there's not an entity on the outside cheering on that activity, and that's what No Labels will do.
Let me just say the silent middle has been silent for far too long, and they're starting to speak out now. You hear of the movers and shakers on the Republican side, whether it be the Koch brothers and some of them on the high echelon of the corporate ladder. You hear on the Democrat side, George Soros, Tom Steyer, and some of them at the high echelon of the corporate ladder. You don't know all the different corporate leaders that we have involved with No Labels.